And we're gonna get started with our hip circles this morning. So bring your feet hip distance apart, micro bend in those knees, and we're gonna send our hips all the way around in the circle. Start the circle nice and small. Let your body slowly get released. And every time you go around, you can make that circle a little bit bigger if you're ready. Today, our focus is going to be on activating the internal, external rotators of the hip. We've got a good full body stretch, and then we're gonna go into some deeper corners of your hip. Last circle around this way, make it as big as possible, and then you're gonna send your hips the opposite direction. Noticing now if you have anything different feeling going this way. Do you feel maybe a little bit of a different tightness on one side than the other? Does it feel exactly the same? This is really us just starting to get things moving, starting to get some lubrication through the joints, and just to notice how we're feeling today. The last big circle around. And then you're going to bring those feet just a little bit closer so they're hip distance apart. I still got my micro bend through the knees, one hand down to my leg, big inhale, exhale as I walk those fingertips down the side of my leg. Right now we are targeting the side of the body, so there's no forward or backwards lean here. We're looking to stretch from your hip bone to your rib cage here. If you're really tight through that area, through that QL, you might feel this into the low back, and that's okay. Just make sure you've got that big exhale and you're not going past the 3 or 4 out of 10 on that pain scale. Good. One more per side here. Really trying to keep that hip anchored and that rib cage stretching as much as possible. Now we're going to move through this a little bit. So instead of going perfectly side to side, we're going to angle ourselves to the front, running our hand down along the front of our thigh here, and really kind of rounding that back a little bit so you feel the muscles pulling off the back of that hip bone here. Inhale to come up, exhale into the next one. Everybody's body's a little bit different, so it might be a bit of a different angle or position that's going to get that same muscle. One more per side. Now we're going to go down the back of the leg. So as we go this one, if we get too far of a backwards lean, you might feel some discomfort in that low back. But if you reach your arm without leaning, you can still stretch those muscles off the front of the hip bone here because it's all connected. So we can go here just with that reach backwards and to the side, or if that back is feeling good, you can follow that line as the hand runs down along the back of your body. Just make sure you keep the feet and the toes anchored with that micro bend through the knees. So we're on a really sturdy base here. All right, let's go one more per side. These are the muscles right off the front of the hip bone that we're targeting. Good. Coming back down to the legs now, we're going to heel toe those feet out to the side until we're in our nice long lunge here. So you want to feel a little bit of a stretch, but it shouldn't be your max position that you can get into. And with those hands in the hip, we're just going to start by dropping one hip down, raising the other hip up, and then switching to the opposite side. This isn't about pushing your hips from one side to the other. Here, if you find that's happening when you try to drop, you've got to bring your feet a little bit further apart from each other. So you can really target that upper half of the inside of the leg and get the groin and the adductors. So just like the one previously, we're staying strict, staying nice and upright, just moving those hips up and down here. There's no forward or backwards movement of my pelvis or my chest. But we are going to take it a little bit deeper now. So come back to neutral. Pivot off to one side, and then you're going to push your hips backwards with a little bit of a bend in the knees to find that stability. Come back up, tilt to the opposite side, micro bend in those knees, and we're going to go ahead and push those hips backwards and up. Good. One more per side here. Pushing those hips backwards, you'll feel that stretch go down the entire length of the inside of the leg. We're going to do one more variation of this one, and that involves tilting your hips, dropping one hip down and then the other, and then turning your torso and reaching down your leg. You're going to feel that more now kind of off the upper half of the, off the top of the hip here, but also down through the inside of the leg. Come on, back up, tilt the opposite way, turn towards the foot, and reach down. So these three variations of this exercise all target the same area, but different muscle fibers of the same muscle group. So you might find one day you need one more than the other, and that's okay. So getting to know your body and knowing what you need. One more per side here. Remember not to hold your breath when you get into those squishy positions. We want a nice long exhale. All right, coming back up to neutral now. And now we're going to bend into our side lunge. So knee pushes forward, hip pushes backwards as I bring my bum as close to my heel as I can. And then we're going to come back up. So imagining that you have that bowl of soup in your pelvis. As your knee and your hip move, you're not spilling that bowl. So our hips don't go here like this, like this. We're trying to stay perfectly parallel to the ground here as we get that stretch down the inside of the leg and the push through the outside of this leg to come up. Inhale as we go down. Exhale to come up. Every time, trying to get just a little bit lower here. One more per side. Staying in that pain-free range of motion. We're going to keep our legs wide for one last one. We're going to do our pancakes to our deep squat. So our pancake position is here. Now, we might not look very much like pancakes, but we're attempting to look like pancakes, where I want to get my chest as close to my thighs as possible. Right now, I'm a really fluffy pancake. If I bend my knees a little bit, I can reach more towards the floor, starting to get more to that thin pancake position here. So we should be feeling this down the back of the legs. I want you to grab as low as you can down your legs. Maybe that's your toes, maybe that's your ankles or your knees. And then you're going to drop your hips down, bending those knees into a low squat position here, attempting to lift the chest without letting go of where you're holding on your legs. Push those hips back up. One heel, one toe to come in closer, back to that pancake position. Feeling it down the back of the legs here. Grabbing as low as you can on your legs. Dropping the hips, raising the chest into that deep squat position. We're holding about 3 to 5 seconds in a squat. And then we go back up. Heel toe those feet in again. So I'm slowly getting closer and closer each time. Back down into my pancake. As your feet come closer, how does it change how you're feeling the stretch? Go ahead and grab your ankles, drop those hips, raise the chest. How does that deep squat feel? You can tell from the breath going out of my lungs, it's not comfortable for me either. Push those hips back up. One more. Heel toe those feet in. Into our pancake position. Dangle, shake out the head, shake out those arms. Grab those ankles. And I can't sit down this close together. Go ahead and slowly come out of this, nice and tall, and we're going to take it down to our cat-cow position. If you have that kneeling pad that you prefer for your legs, bring it close. We're going to be on and off the knees for the next little bit now. First, we're starting just with our cat-cow. So make sure your hands are starting directly under your shoulders. Your hips are starting directly under our knees. We're going to exhale to push our spine up towards the ceiling, letting the tailbone and the chin tuck under. And then we're going to inhale, tilt the chin, tilt the tailbone, and drop the belly button towards the ground. Motion is lotion here. We're trying to give every vertebrae just a little bit of movement to start your day. If you feel like you need to push those hips from one side to the other to get a little stretch out side to side, you can. And then come right back into that cat-cow. Exhaling up towards the ceiling in your cat position. Inhaling, belly button down towards the ground into your cow position. Go ahead and sit back on your ankles if you can. If you can't, I'll give you the alternative. Leaning back on your hands here. We're going to go to stretching our quads in the front of the legs. So you're going to push your hips upwards and come back down. Remembering that that hard pelvic tilt is important. So pull my pubic bone towards my chin. I already feel the stretch a little bit, and then I lift upwards. If that is not a position that works for you, you're going to make your way onto your back. Feet flat on the ground, hip distance apart. You're going to hard pelvic tilt, lift that pubic bone up, and then lift the hips towards the ceiling to get that stretch to the front of the quad. This is the easier variation of the exercise. You can really get into the quads as long as you do a hard pelvic tilt. But if you're able to come over to the knees into a comfortable position without hurting yourself, this is the next level of the exercise. We've got about 20 seconds left here, in whichever position feels good for you. Try to open up that chest. And if you want to hold up in your highest position for this next 10 seconds, you can. We've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax. Good. You're going to make your way over to a kneeling position. And you're going to take one leg and you're going to stick it out to the side here. Ideally, the foot is flat on the floor, your sole of your foot. But if you need to, you can go onto the inside of that foot with the bottom of your foot pointing away. Just be careful of your knee here, okay? This position keeps our knee in alignment. This position makes it easy for that knee to go out of alignment. So just make sure that you're watching where your knee is. We're going to start by bringing our hands down to the ground and inhaling as we move forward over the wrists, and then exhale as you sit those hips backwards. Just like our lunge position at the top, we're going to explore a little bit through this movement and show you different variations. So the first one, I just want to let you get your hips as far back as you can, tucking that tailbone underneath if you need to, and then coming back forward. Good. So the next one involves us being a little bit strict with ourselves. So I don't want your tailbone to tuck under. If you had a flashlight in your bum, where would that flashlight point? As you sit those hips backwards, I want you to keep the tailbone, keep the flashlight pointing as high up the wall behind you as I can. So I'm not letting my back round. I'm keeping my back straight, really feeling a bit more of a stretch through those adductor muscles here. Remembering that I really don't want you pushing past that 3 out of 10, maybe a 4 out of 10 on the pain scale here. And as we go up to a bit more challenging variations, you are always welcome to come back to the ones that we always did. If you're ready to move on to the next one, bring your hands up off the ground. You're going to sit your bum back towards the heels, squeeze your bum up, really trying to push that hip through, even with a straight leg out to the side. Starting to get some activation now. Back stays straight, chest stays lifted. Good. Last one. Now those hands are going to come down to the ground again. And if you're on the bottom of your foot like me, you're going to roll to the inside of the foot. So now as I roll my body forward, I'm going to lift my heel, roll onto my toe. There's a little internal rotation. And then as I push my hips backwards, I'm going to roll to my heel and raise my toe. And that's a little bit of external rotation for you. Really trying to get that toe back as far as possible. Just starting to wake up those internal, external rotators. Remembering that with this one, we're not pushing past that 3 out of 10. Let's go ahead and gently bring that leg in. We're going to switch it over to the opposite side and repeat those 3 positions. Inside of the foot, if you need to, bottom of the foot ideally, and we're going to start pushing the hips backwards. You can let the hips drop under here on this first one as we just slowly loosen up. I find when I let my tailbone tuck under, I get to about a 2 out of 10 on that pain scale. And then when I get strict and don't let my back round, it stays up towards that 3 or 4. Now we're going to flatten our back. You are no longer allowed to let the tailbone tuck under. Keep the hips high as you press yourself backwards, and feel how that changes how you feel this down the inside of the leg. Inhale forward, exhale backwards. Good. Last one here. Bring those hands up off the ground now. Inhale as you sit your hips back towards the heel. Exhale as you press those hips up. Start to feel the openness through the front of the hips here. Good. Last one. We bring those hands down to the ground. Roll to that inside of the foot now. As the body moves forward, you raise the heel up onto your toe. As you push your hips backwards, you roll to the heel and you raise your toe off the ground. Starting to wake up those internal and external rotators on this side now. Want some more? Go ahead and relax. Bring that in. We're going to make our way over to our bum, although after this next one, we're going to be back on those knees. So don't put your knee pad very far. Leaning back on your hands here with those feet kicked out in front of you. Your feet should be at least yoga mat distance apart from each other. So if I was on a regular size yoga mat, my feet would be off the width of it. Keeping leaning back on my hands, I'm going to windshield wiper my legs from one side to the other. If you're lifting your hand and turning to get the knees to the ground, you're just going too far into it and not getting the full stretch. I want you to stay leaning back on your hands. And if that means you can just go here, that's what you have in your internal and external rotators. So that's the range of motion you're going to work through. If this is too easy, walk your hands closer to your bum, keeping your back nice and straight. If that's too easy, those hands come off the ground, but your goal is to be a nice flat back as you come through the center here, okay? You're gonna pick which side is tighter today. So my left leg is tighter, so I'm gonna push my legs to the left here, sitting up nice and tall, and you can use your hand, stack yoga blocks or books to get yourself as upright as possible. And I wanna try to connect this knee to the ground here. We're gonna rock forward and backwards over top of that knee, really now targeting that glute and the external rotators in this hip. Good. Now you're going to bring your hands, both hands back around your knee. So we're starting to get into a bit of a spinal rotation here now. Use your hands to pull your chest as close to that push-up position as you can, and we're going to lower down to the ground. To move here, we're going side to side, towards your knee, and then away from the knee. Inhaling as you come towards the knee, exhaling as you push away. Starting to feel the obliques that are tight. Last one here. Go ahead and replace your elbow on that back arm. You're going to inhale your top arm up and then exhale as you thread the needle underneath you here. Little spinal rotation. Your hand goes under your armpit, but can you look over your shoulder and see the fingers coming out from behind you? Let's go ahead and slowly unwind ourselves. Bring ourselves back to the starting position and shake it out a couple times. How does that tighter leg feel now? Maybe you have a greater range of motion in it. Maybe it just means that your current range of motion feels a little less squishy, and that's a win. So let's drop our legs to the opposite side now, using this arm or blocks or books, whatever you need to keep yourself coming as upright as possible out of that pelvis. And then we're rocking forward and backwards over this knee, keeping this knee in contact with the ground. So if I let this knee lift, my range of motion is larger, but I'm not stretching the hip. Connect the hip to the ground, forward to get deeper into the stretch, and then backwards to release it, but keeping the knee on the ground starts to activate. Stretch forward, press the knee into the floor to come back to upright. Back leg or back arm comes around now, so both hands are behind that knee, using the hands to hold us parallel to the ground as we lower to our push-up position, and then inhale towards our knee and exhale as we slide away. Good. If you're a golfer, stretching out these muscles here will help you get a little bit further back into that swing. Go ahead and drop that elbow down to the ground. Inhale up in the air, and then exhale to thread the needle underneath you. All right, go ahead and slowly unwind yourself. Come back to your starting position and shake it out. How do the hips feel now? All right, we're going back onto those knees. So if you need your knee pad, go ahead and grab them. We're stretching our chest. So arms out to the side, shoulders stay far away from the ears. If you don't feel the stretch in your chest, your shoulders probably did this. So I want you to bring them back to here. Folding at the waist, we're going to bring the hands to the ground and then shift our body weight from one side to the other. Good. So this should be stretching across the chest from the sternum to the shoulders. We're going to take it into the pec minor now, which means your arms are going to go from out to the side of you, up into a wide position here. And then I'm alternating, dropping one armpit into the ground and then the other, looking underneath the opposite armpit. Really spread those fingers as far apart from each other as you can. Get that stretch going down your forearm, your bicep, into the armpit, and then down towards the rib cage. Good. Let's come back up into our tabletop position here. Hands are under the shoulders, and now we're going to replace the hands with our elbows. One hand's going to go behind your head. You're going to take a deep breath in, and then you're going to exhale as you open up to the side. Okay? And come on back down. So right now, we're just opening and back down. 2, we're going to do 10 per side. 3, 4. Don't rush it. We don't want it to be a pulse, or like a 1-second pause to get a little bit of control in that top position. You're going to start to feel this through the obliques, through the back, through the shoulders. Once you've done 10 on one side, switch it over to the opposite arm. Remember that I want those elbows on the ground directly under your shoulders. Hand goes behind the head, and then we exhale to open up to the side. If you have shoulder aches and pains, your thoracic spine could be part of the problem, especially if you find you're not able to rotate much past the 90 here. If our mid-back isn't doing its job, then our shoulders have to take a lot more of the load than they're supposed to. Remember, just 10 there. When you're finished, I want you to come back down to the ground into your 90-90 position. okay? So 90 degrees here, 90 degrees here. I know you all love this position. If your knees bother you in this position, keeping your foot flexed to 90 will help take some pressure off of that knee. If you're having any cramping, go ahead and make some adjustments that you need to, using that hand to help keep your spine straight. So we're going to start with activating some rotators through the hip. So we're going to sit up really tall here. I want you to connect your back knee to the ground, and we're going to try and lift our heel off the ground. The more upright I am, the harder this is. If I lean forward over my front knee, still with a long spine, it's easier to get that heel off the ground. So we're going to do 10 heel raises. Start here if you must. And if you can, start to bring yourself more to an upright position. Right? 10 heel lifts on one side. If you're attempting and you can't get off the ground, that's okay. You're going to feel these muscles in the hip working. Just try to get a little control if you can, but if all you can do is that, that's good enough. If all you can do is that, where you're attempting to lift and it doesn't move, that is great. Lean back on those hands once you're done. Roll your heels over to the opposite side. And now we're doing 10 more with this back heel. If you need to lean forward, lean forward. Otherwise, we're trying to get the same range of motion with the same upright position that we had on the previous side. Work. Now we're going to lean back on those hands once you're done. Go back to the first side. But this time, the heel is going to stay on the ground, and we're lifting our knee up off the ground. Up and down. Heel stays on the ground. Lean as far forward as you need to. This one I find it's a little bit easier if you lean backwards. So to make it more challenging, we're trying to stay upright out of that pelvis. 10 knee raises here. Definitely feeling some scar tissue, some tightness in my hip. Surprisingly more on this one than the previous, which was not what I was expecting. Once you've done those 10, you lean back on your hands, you switch it to the other side. Heel stays on the ground, knee lifts. Trying to stay as upright as possible. Good. And once you're done those, that was round one. We are going to do this again. So you're going to stretch out your heel, just shake out the legs from one side to the other. Just to loosen it up. Good. And the first exercise that we're counting in this is that T-spine rotation that we did. So for all of those exercises, starting here, we did 10 repetitions. So we're going to go through our upper body rotations, our heel raises and our knee raises one more time. But this time, instead of 10 repetitions, we're only going to do 3, but they're going to have a 10-second hold. So the position is going to look like this. Hand behind the head. I'm going to open up, and I'm going to count you down for 10 seconds. We're all going to do it together, and then we're going to come down. We're going to do 3 10-second holds in each position. So we'll start our first one in 20 seconds. Go ahead and get yourself into position. Get that knee pad if you need to. Sip of water or coffee. All right, we're into position here. Find that hand behind the head. We're going to exhale as we open up, and then we're going to hold. Constantly trying to rotate further to get that elbow up towards the ceiling. We've got another 5 seconds here. Look down the length of the elbow. What can you see? Come on back down to the ground and open up again. Number 2, 10-second hold. What's restricting you from rotating further open? 3, 2, 1. Release, tap down, and right back in again. Open up. What's stopping you from getting that elbow to point directly up at the ceiling? Is it your back? Relax. Is it your neck? Is it your shoulders? Is it your hips? Let's go ahead and switch it over to the opposite arm here. And open up. Look down that length of the elbow. What are you able to look at? How high up the wall or the ceiling? Relax. Number 2, open up. Good. 3, 2, 1, relax. Come down. And number 3, open up. You got it. 3, 2, 1, relax. All right, over to the bum, into our 90-90 position here. We'll drop to the side. So to make this a little bit, well, not easier, it's going to make it more challenging physically to do, but to make less switches back and forth, we're going to lift our heel 3 times. I'm going to guide you through 10 seconds each. And then we're going to lift this knee 3 times. I'm going to guide you through 10 seconds each. And then we'll switch and do the opposite side. This is your last round for these exercises, I promise. Okay? So up nice and upright into your top position here. Keeping the knee on the ground, lift the heel up and hold it. Here we go, 10 seconds. Feel that squeeze here. Activate those muscles. If you need to lean forward, lean forward. 3, 2, 1, relax. This is one of those exercises that feels so annoyingly hard. Ready, go. Lift that hip up. Sorry, lift the heel up. Knee on the ground. 3, 2, 1, relax. Can you be a little bit more upright for this last one? Let's try. Ready? Go. Remember, it's not really about how high that heel goes as it is about feeling the right muscle activation. Relax. Now our heel connects to the ground. It's our knee that's going to lift now. So we're lifting that knee up and we're holding 10 seconds. Try not to lean back or lean to the side. You want to stay as upright as possible out of your pelvis. 3, 2, 1, relax. Number 2. Ready, go. Try not to rotate the pelvis. We're just trying to move that leg in the hip socket. And relax. One more. Ready, go. Last one on this side. And relax. Lean back on those hands. Shake it out a couple times here. How's that 90-90 feel? Does it feel any easier to get into your position now? You are allowed to say no. It's okay. Okay, we're on to the opposite side here. Knee connects to the ground. We're lifting our heel up and holding for 10 seconds. Here we go. Trying to be as upright as you possibly can. 3, 2, 1, rest. Number 2. Ready, lift. Remember, pelvis isn't moving. My goal is just to have that leg move within my hip socket. 3, 2, 1, relax. One more coming up. Ready, go. Don't say I didn't warn you today. I've been warning you since the beginning. And relax. Heel goes down and it's going to stay connected to the ground. We're going to be lifting this knee up off the ground now. Okay. In 3, 2, 1, lift. Remember, we don't want any pelvic rotation. You're just moving that knee within the range of motion you have. Relax. 2 more. Ready, go. Hard to see black leggings with a shadow here, but I'm trying to get that knee as high as I can. Relax. One more. Last but not least, up we go. And relax. Very nice job. Let's shake those legs out. And then make your way to a stand, nice and slow. We've been on the ground for the majority of our workout now. So take it out. I'm going to switch my timer up for our next one. You're going to need 2 dumbbells for a front rack squat if you have the dumbbells. If not, I'll guide you through what to do. You will need something to hold in your hands for the second exercise. If you don't have dumbbells, you could use dishwashing detergent, laundry detergent, a bucket with something in it. Anything that is going to add a little bit of weight for some static marches. Three times 3 is 9. Look at me doing hard math. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so our 2 exercises that we're going to do. First one is a front rack squat. So a lot of times we do goblet squats here. Okay, we hold that weight in front of us. With the front rack squat, I want you to get the weights up on your shoulders. So you're going to start standing here. You're going to get a little bit of a swing out of the dumbbells, and you're going to swing them forward, and you're going to rest them up on your shoulders here. So the weight's a little bit higher than I normally have it, and I'm lifting my elbows up. This is going to make it a much more quad dominant version of a squat here. Okay, so that's our first exercise, is a front rack squat. If this is hard for you to get the dumbbells up, that's part of the exercise. I want you to work on getting that swing, getting that core stability to protect the spine to bring the dumbbells up. And then we're going to squat. So round number 1 is going to be your regular squat stance. Then round number 2, we're going to go a little wider than our usual squat stance. And round number 3, we're going to go a little bit more narrow than our regular squat stance. Okay? But that's the first exercise. Second exercise, you keep the weights in your hand. You stand up nice and tall. So the weights stretch my arms down. I keep the shoulders back. And we're going to do a static march. Down and up. Okay? If you don't have any dumbbells or weights to use, that's okay. You can do this with resistance bands. You can do this exercise without any resistance whatsoever. So with resistance bands for the static march, you would put the resistance band around your feet, and then you would drive that knee up, pause for 3 seconds, and back down. Okay? So that static march is a balance, stability, core exercise. You can do it with or without weights. Same with our squat. You can do it with or without weights and just work on your different foot positions that you have. So we're going to start getting ready here. Get your dumbbells that you need ready. The resistance bands if you're going to use them. Whatever you use for your front rack squat, you can use here. So we shouldn't really have to switch weights. We're going 40 seconds of squats into 40 seconds of marches, and then we'll get 40 seconds of rest. We're repeating that 3 times. Let's get started in 10 seconds. So here, start that rocking. Get your weights up to that front rack position. Elbows stay lifted the whole time. And here we go. Down and up. Inhale, exhale, regular squat stance. I want the top of your arms here to be parallel to the ground. So I'm not letting the weight pull me forward. Got to keep the elbow up. 15 seconds to go. And I want you to take note over how your hips feel. Last one. 3, 2, 1. Weights come down, straight in to that static march. 2 to 3 second hold at the top. We're not doing this. I want you to find some balance and stability here. The heavier these weights in your hands get, the more core you need. So start thinking on the next round if you want to switch up the weight that you're using for your squat, for your march, or for both. Good. Let the shoulders be stretched down. Your job is to keep them back. 3, 2, 1, rest. All right. So round number 2, for our legs, we're going into more of a sumo squat position here now, still keeping the weights here. I'm seeing a lot of people holding their weights with their elbows out. This is harder on your shoulder position. that causes you to shrug your shoulders into it. So as you're keeping your elbows up, I want to also have you try and keep those elbows in front of your shoulders. If you see here, I rest the weight. I can even bring my hand to here and completely rest it on the dumbbell as long as I can lift that elbow up. Round number 2, sumo squat position. Swing those dumbbells up. Here we go. Pushing those knees out a little bit wider here. You got it. Elbows in, elbows up. Inhale, squeeze the butt, come all the way up. Ten more seconds. Elbows in. I don't want to see this. No flexing at me. I know you have big muscles. Bring those elbows in. 3, 2, 1. Weights go down into our march straight away. So you'll see here, I'm going to put this one down. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm stacked rib cage on top of pelvis, lifting up, really feeling the abs and the hip flexor, and then I'm switching. Halfway. The more tired I get, the harder it is to find that stability. I want to pause at the top here. Good. Find your big toe. That's the key to balance. 3, 2, 1, relax. All right, I'm going to make the weights a little bit heavier here. But for our squat this time, we've done the neutral position. We've done our wide position. So now we're doing our narrow position. So when we go narrow, I want your feet hip distance apart, toes pointing forward. The neutral or the close position isn't where we flare those knees out. This is an awkward position to come down into. So we want to be here. You probably won't get as deep as you do in the other 2 variations, and that's okay. You're going to really feel your quads working here. Okay, so bring those weights up. Here we go. No matter what, you are not allowed to sacrifice that elbow position to get deeper into the squat. Okay, that's a compensation. Elbows up, elbows in front of the shoulders. If I do this, I can go lower, but I'm also working my back, or I'm working my back in a bad way. You probably feel your mid-back working here if you're keeping those elbows up. 10 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. And dumbbells come down, straight into those marches. You're tall, finding your big toe. Good. I always love the stretch I feel across the top of my traps when I do something like this. Stop fighting it. Stop trying to shrug it. 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1, rest. You do not need your dumbbells for this next exercise. You do, however, need an elevated surface and some space on your mat. So for this next one, we're going to be doing a push-up. I'm going to use my bars that I have here. You can use a desk, a coffee table, a workout bench, a table, a ledge you have in your room. The higher your hands are off the floor, the easier it will be to do the push-up. So I'm going to use these bars, and similar to our squats, we're going to play around with different hand positions. So number one, I want your hands just wider than shoulder distance apart, and we're keeping our elbows in really tight against our body. This is the hardest variation of a push-up. However, it's the easiest position to keep your shoulder blades lying flat across your back here. Second exercise, or the second round, we're going to go out a little bit more. So my elbows go out to the side, my hands are a little bit wider, and now I'm doing my push-up in this position here. So you can see my elbows go out to the side, they pull the shoulder blades out a little bit, but because I'm squeezing these muscles, I'm able to keep my shoulder blades in place and really feel my chest work. On round 3, we're going to bring our hands way out here. And I'm going to get you to feel how hard it is to engage your lats in this position and how you feel a lot more shoulder with it. As with any exercise that we do, you are able to pick one of the other options if one of them doesn't feel good for you. This workout should feel good, just hard. That's what we want. Your second exercise, we're going to be down onto the floor. And I'm going to guide you through 3 different variations. On round 1, it's just a pelvic tilt, okay? I want you to have a gap under your low back. So this is where our abs are relaxing. And then we're going to pull our pubic bone up towards our chin, pressing that low back into the floor and really getting that ab engagement. So round 1, that is what you're doing. Right afterwards on our rest, I'll show you what the second variation of that exercise is, okay? So get your push-up position. If you're using bars like I am, you'll want those parallel to each other to begin with, and the handles just wider than shoulder distance apart. Regardless of what hand position you're in, we don't want to see push-up like this. That's incredibly hard. I want you trying to get your chest over top of your hands with that back nice and flat here, okay? We're tucking in nice and tight. Let's do that. We'll move straight down to the floor for our pelvic tilt. I'm actually gonna move up a little bit so I don't have to move my equipment around. 10 seconds. We start with our first round of push-ups, nice and narrow, elbows tight towards our body. Here we go. Elbows tight towards your body. Inhale down, exhale away. Nice proud chest here. Keep those shoulders back. Keep the lats engaged. Notice how I'm not on my heels. I'm up on my toes. That's what pushes me over top of my hands. One more. 2, 1, relax. So you're back onto the floor here, and we've got our pelvic tilt. You don't have to have your arms up here. I just want you to be able to see what I'm doing. This is the work and the squeeze here. Release, squeeze. Remember what this squeeze feels like, because I want you doing this on your next set of push-ups. Pelvic tilt flattens out that low back. You got it. 2, 1, relax. Okay, so next round on this exercise, I'm gonna add a step. You're gonna pelvic tilt. Hold the pelvic tilt while you lift your knees up. Keep holding as you bring your feet down, and then you can relax. Pelvic tilt to engage the core, lift the knees up and down, and that low back should stay on the ground until you do your release. So once you tilt, that low back has to stay on the ground here, all the way to here, okay? So for our push-up this time, we are moving our hands out to the side, allowing those elbows to move comfortably away from our body. Here we go. Where's that pelvic tilt? Start with that pelvic tilt we just talked about. That's going to keep that back flat while you do your push-up. Can you squeeze this muscle still with those elbows out to the side a little bit? It's going to get more challenging. But this position also allows you to get into your chest better if you can control your shoulder blades. You got it. 2, 1, back to the floor. We've got our pelvic tilt with our knee raise. Back down. Tilt, raise, lower, relax. Tilt, raise, lower, relax. Halfway. 2, 1, relax. Okay, this position on our next upcoming last round here. We're going to tilt, we're going to lift the knees, we're going to lift the hips, and then we're going to slowly unwind, keeping that tilt, and then you can relax. So from the moment you tilt till you get back to this position, your abs have to stay working the whole time. And I know you guys love that exercise. If it doesn't feel good for you, go back to one of the previous regressions that we did and do that one instead. But starting to get those hips off the ground is a really good strengthener for our lower abdominals. Push up this time. Our arms are right out to the side. Here we go. So harder to keep those lats engaged, easier to feel your chest working. Easier to feel the shoulders work in this, but your goal is to really get those shoulders back and get into your chest. If it doesn't feel good, bring the hands back to a closer position. Last one. Relax. Back to the floor here. You got your pelvis tilt, your knee raised, then your hip raised. Tilt, knees, hips, and unwind. So from here, it's a slow unfurling and letting the hips relax after the feet get to the ground. Eventually leading to how high up towards the ceiling can you get your toes. Last one. Done. All right, roll on over to your stomach. Let it stretch out here. So you probably don't feel it yet, but your hips might be a little sore after we did all that work into some deep, dark corners that we don't typically hit. Our everyday life does not bring us into any of these positions where we target those rotators. So this is my favorite stretch for when mine gets sore. I'm on my back, and you bring my feet nice and wide and then drop my legs to one side. On this side, the heel that's close to the knee, I'm going to pop that heel on top of the knee if I can, and that's going to intensify the stretch that I feel here. So this is one of my favorite ones to do. I love it because it's passive. I can lay on the ground and look up at the TV. Great one for the end of the day. Release that heel, switch your legs to the other side, pop the heel on top of the knee if you can, and give a pull down towards the floor. Good. Let's go back and forth, do those one more time. Switch to the other side, pop that heel on top. Try to keep your hip pulled down into the ground as well. So you're kind of fighting between your heel pulling your knee down and your body pulling your hip down. And if you do want those two at the same time, you've really got a good stretch here. So let's release and try the same thing on the other side. Good. And relax. We're going to come up to a seated position now. Of course, I don't have my little stools in here. One moment. We're going to come into a seated position. And this is one you can do at your desk. Pop that leg over. Now, other than sitting like this and keeping the spine long and leaning forward, you don't have to do much with it. You can press that knee down a little bit, but really it's this slight motion from here to here that really intensifies this stretch. And now you'll see, this is a great example how I have two differences on one side than the other. You see this angle that my leg is at and how low this knee is. Well, when we switch sides, you'll see how high this leg is. So if I'm at home and I'm stretching by myself, I will often start with this leg and stretch it out. And then I'll go do my other leg, my good leg. And then I'll finish off with this leg again. If we're always stretching the same muscles, the same amount, you're never going to work out imbalances. Sometimes you have to give that tighter side a little bit of extra love. So let's go back to the first side. Sit up nice and tall. Can you lean any more forward over top of that hip? Release. And last one. Second side again, sitting up tall, hinging forward if you can, trying to keep that knee as low as possible. And relax. Thanks for joining today. Nice to have a big group on again.